Did you know that by using the Satyr's banner that you're actually subtracting the amount of crit damage that you can do and the overall damage that you're actually doing? Stay tuned, find out more. Well, and now you know. So let's break that down. For a lot of you who saw that and were like, John, what are you talking about? Let's talk about it. So if we go into the skill tree over here and we go to skills, you will see here that I am running the banner. 9 out of 10 Crusaders are gonna run the banner, right? It's one of the best skills for a Crusader. Hence why Satyrs have the nickname Banner Bot, right? Because everyone just really wants them for the banner. I know I always wanted one for a banner. I want them for speed runs. We are now approaching where we are doing Hell 4 dungeons because everyone's about Paragon level 150. This means that you can finally get 6-piece set items, which is massive, guys. I've been waiting for this so that way I can really grind up. You will notice that I am severely behind on my Paragon level. I just got back from Dallas, so I do apologize. I know the last few of my videos have been kind of meh because I had to pre-record them because I was out of town. It's also caused me to fall behind. Don't worry, this weekend I will get back up to Paragon level. I will get streaming. I will do everything that I can to finally hit that Paragon level because I want to hit the 150 so I can start getting my set bonuses. Now, what does that have to do with the crit rate and the banner skill on the Crusader, you ask? All right, let's just break it down so that way I can explain it to you and then I'll show you the proof in the pudding. Okay, so skills. Talking about the skills. Holy banner. Best skill on a Crusader, fight me. Changed my mind. Nearby allies for 11.2 seconds, increasing critical hit chance by 100%, but decreasing critical hit damage to 135% instead of double. What does this mean? This means that crit damage is calculated in this game as double your damage, your base damage, plus the multiplicative of your base damage times your crit damage. So that's going to be your armor pen and your crit damage modifier, both of those together. So you will notice that if you do about 10,000 damage on a base hit, when you crit, you should be doing about 25,000 damage. If 10,000 on a base, and about 25,000-ish damage on your actual crit chance when you do crit itself, given that you have about 50% crit damage. Now, most people have more than this, and I'm just using that as an example. The reason why I'm using that as an example is that's because it's kind of close to what I have on my character. So when we go over here to stats, you'll see here on more stats, my combat rating, I'm at 3,378. That's not honestly that high for my level, unfortunately. But if we go to armor penetration, you will see that I get 34% from my crit damage. And if I go to crit damage here, I get approximately 4.5%, which is about 37%. Now that does not include any modifiers that you get from gems and other things, but that does include your gear chance modifiers, which is really huge. Now, what I want to show you, and as you just saw here when I just did that attack, so I was being attacked, I just got a crit for 28,000 damage. Now, when I go over here and I attack a normal monster, you'll see that I'm about 10,000, 11,000 average damage on my base hit. Now, these will be different monsters, but we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna take this as a general identification. So notice that my first hit was about 10,000 there. And then when I actually go to crit or so, let's see, what do I get? 28,446. So that was a good crit. So what this means, and actually that changes as well because I do have the modifier on my gear that allows me to do more damage as they lose health. Definitely keep that in mind when you get to these certain levels where you can do, where is it? I know I have one on here. And nearby enemy damage decreased by 3%. Increased enemy damage, I know I have one. Where is it at? Damage, nope. No. Okay, I have one in here somewhere. That is that does increase damage when the opponent gets lower in health, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. What I'm trying to point out to you though is this is about your baseline damage. So as we go over and we attack these people, you're seeing about 10,000 and every about 15 to 20 or so basis attacks, you'll see that I get a crit, about 24K to 30 something K, and that is because my base damage is around that 10,000. So it jives, so it's double the base damage plus the percentage of the base, right? So that totally jives, the math is there, makes total sense. So if you were to stack, say, a bunch of armor penetration, because a lot of people do run armor pen, I've got armor pen, and then I actually am running armor myself and another set of armor. So I'm kind of balanced out myself just for survivability for doing challenge runs. But overall, in general, I have a fair amount of armor penetration. Not as much as some will have. Some will have a lot more, which is more crit damage. But notice that I'm consistently getting some crits here and there. Now, what happens when I were to say, I don't know, pop my banner and do a lot of damage? So let's go ahead, let's kill this mob here. And then we'll pop over there and we'll go ahead and pop banner and then see how much damage we do. So notice that when I pop banner, okay, so every shot I do is gonna be a crit. Notice that it's a little under on the crit side. It's about 19,400 on those enemies. I got 36,000 there on those ones, which is pretty good, right? But that is because I've been limited. I've essentially been limited on the amount of crit damage that I can do. Because of the way the skill works, it brings you down to the 135% crit damage. Now, in my case, I think that's actually gonna be probably pretty good for me because I have a low amount of crit damage. So that brings me down to a crit damage of 135 as a baseline, right? Which means that essentially it's like 35% crit damage, right? What is my total overall damage right now anyways? It's not much higher than that. So for me, it's not sacrificing a whole lot of overall damage done, but it's enough that I actually noticed it when doing some attacks. So when you go over here and you say armor penetration, 34% plus crit damage, 38.5% damage, right? And then this gives me 135% damage. I'm only sacrificing about 3.5 crit damage myself. But on top of that, what it's doing for me is it gets rid of the double damage. So I go to 135, you add the 35.5 that I have on my character, right? So it puts me at about 170 something percent crit damage. It only goes up to an additional 65 additional crit damage, right? So you can only top out at 200% damage. So the most you can really do is like two times, right? So it does make a difference. It does change things just a little bit on the amount of damage that you do, but not enough to actually, I think, affect it truly. Now, the reason why I bring this up and the reason why you may wonder, well, John, why did you even make this video? Is because characters and players who are going to be min-maxing, because right now everyone just entered in the health 4 area, right? Everyone's farming health 4. What does this mean for you? This means that you can get the full set items. So a lot of people are going to be min-maxing. They're going to be min-maxing gear. They're going to be looking for crit rate. Going to be looking for crit damage. They're going to be taking a look and saying, okay, I'm a Crusader or I'm a Demon Hunter. I'm always going to run with the Crusader. They're going to be taking those factors into account and trying to make sure they have the best gear possible. Now, does this mean that it's not good to run with a Crusader? Not at all. It's still good because you're gonna always overall get more damage out of your banner. Notice that I'm always critting here. So even though I am doing less damage on those skeletons than I would be if I were to get a basic crit without my banner going, it's still a guaranteed hit. RNG is removed, and we all know when it comes to Diablo Immortal, RNG is the real enemy here. But it does make a big difference. So keep this in mind. If you are looking for that one astronomical hit, or if you're just trying to get the highest numbers possible, when running with a about call it a Crusader banner bot because it is, when running with a Crusader, just keep in mind that when he does pop his banner, you will constantly crit, but you won't see those high numbers, and that's okay. I just basically wanted you guys to be aware of this. I didn't want everyone to go around and say, oh man, like, you know, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, or I do so much more damage as a Crusader. Or I do so much damage when I have a banner active. Well, yes, you do, because each individual hit gives you guaranteed crit. However, without the banner actually running, and if you are someone who is stacking armor penetration and getting a lot of crit damage modifiers on your gear, you're actually getting an astronomically more amount of crit damage just by yourself. As we move into the late game, I'm talking health 5, especially when you get up to the higher 200, 300 Paragon levels, we will start to see gear that gives a lot higher crit rate percent. Right now, the average is anywhere between 5 to 20% crit rate on average, which is still pretty decent, honestly, in this game, because you are constantly attacking, you're constantly doing damage over and over again. But you are actually going to be looking more into the future of not really running as much with a Crusader as you get more crit rate, because it is going to limit the amount of damage done. Now, this is all subject to your playstyle, how long you play, how much crit rate and crit damage you actually have, because this will normalize everybody in the party on the amount of crit damage they can actually do. which in some cases is totally okay. Now, granted, this does not mean that everyone will do the same amount of damage, because crit damage is calculated off of your, in particular, base damage, but it just means that no one will necessarily be hitting astronomically higher if you are all on the same base damage rate, not including your crit damage, essentially is what I'm getting at here. So keep this in mind, and you will definitely notice that as I don't use my crit damage or my banner, you'll see that I'm doing pretty decent damage when I do crit, as you saw right there. It's not terrible, it's not the best, but you know, it's okay for my piddly 134 Crusader, unfortunately. I will catch that up very quickly. I'm farming one of my favorite areas. I'll be farming it for most of the night, honestly, as I record videos here. But then as I pop my banner, I'm guaranteed I'm doing an almost 20k, 24k damage here. So notice the amount of different damage difference there is about 4,000 to 7,000 damage. So I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of this. And just because of that. Now, total DR, is it worth running a Crusader and everything? Absolutely. I think even at the end of the day, it makes up for all the damage you're gonna do, especially if you're running with a Demon Hunter, it doesn't matter. But just something to be aware of when moving forward, because I do want everybody to know how the game works in and out, so that way they don't get hoodwinked and think that, oh, I'm doing something just amazing, or, oh, you know, like, I don't understand why I'm not doing as much damage. This kind of should explain it to you. So if you are someone who has plus 65% crit damage already on their character, or a high level crit rate, which then turns into crit damage once you have 100% crit rate, just keep that in mind, because you're actually going to be losing out on that additional crit damage that you're going to have. But it's okay, because you're still going to be critting every single hit, so you're going to be doing a massive amount of damage overall. I hope this video helped you guys understand how the banner, or the holy banner, actually works on the Crusader. And I hope that helps you out a little bit on understanding what to look for and do with your crit rate and crit damage if you're going to be running with the Satyr in the long term. Have a good rest of your day. Leave comments down below what you think about this video, and please sub and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. See you guys in the next one. Peace.